If you're a business owner who feels your
So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminski Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. Today is Friday, April 9th, and man, what a freaking week. I want to wrap this week up with such a awesome story about a brand who really found their purpose through their brand story, through their personal story, and has gone on to help thousands of women around the world with their brand. So without further ado, I want to introduce Amanda O'Reilly from worthywands.com. What is going on?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here on this platform. We are new friends. I love your energy, so I'm so grateful to be here to share what is a worthy wand.
Well, when we met on Clubhouse, I started diving into your Instagram and I saw what was going on, and I was like, she would be awesome for the show. I mean, this is phenomenal. This is all about brand purpose, and this works really, really well with branding. And so I want to get into the brand story. I want to get into what Worthy Wands are and the beautiful things and the beautiful lives that you're changing across the world right after this quick little message. If you're a business owner who feels your branding isn't truly representing the value that you deliver, check out this free video training that will help you level up your brand's messaging and online presence so that you can start attracting higher quality clients. Visit www.uniquedesignz with a Z at the end, not an S, .net/level up my branding. All right. I'm so excited to get into this. So Amanda, tell the world how Worthy Wands came to be.
So it's a very vulnerable story, but one that I think, when you can heal the unworthiness wound within and you can unapologetically figure out who you want to be in your story, you can share your truth, your most vulnerable scars. You can, share your deepest, darkest secrets, right? And in hopes to become a page in somebody else's survival guide. So I am, today, the woman that I am today is far from who I was. A quick bird's eye view of how I got here and how the brand was created was, I am a rape survivor. So I lost my virginity in university. I was saving myself for that worthy person, and that's just not how the story played out for me. And unfortunately, it was a family member. And my parents, really had a difficult time embracing that story and that event in my life. And I think, like most of us growing up, we're conditioned to share shiny, happy feelings, right? And if our parents, they did the best they could with what they knew, but if they are not emotionally sound themselves, they're not able to process certain trauma. So for them, it was like, we aren't going to talk about this. We are not going to bring it to light. We're going to bury it. And we'll send you to counseling, and this will sort of be how the story goes. And what that did on a very subconscious level for me was I developed all kinds of limiting beliefs that I wasn't enough, that I was unworthy of love from my own parents, and I was imperfect. I was broken. And what happens is when you start to play out that story and those become your dominant thoughts, well, the universe is beautiful like that, where it literally will just Amazon Prime to your door what you believe to be true. And so, I had all these events that I'm going to say now, as a conscious creator in the world, were gifts. But it certainly didn't feel like that at the time. So 4 years ago, I literally and legitimately was evicted from life as I knew it. I was in a 7-year relationship. The relationship came to a crashing halt, and I had raised my son as a single mom because his father was unfaithful as well. So that was the thread. Why? Because I believed I was unbroken. I was unworthy of love. Men are untrustworthy, et cetera, et cetera. So these were all my limiting beliefs, my dominating thoughts. So you attract back in what you believe to be true. So my relationship ended, and in the same week, my son said to me, "I'm out of here." Gave me the double bird and went to live with his dad. And that destroyed me, because I was evicted from all the roles that I was playing, right? We are human beings, we're not human doings, but I was addicted to the roles because that's how I validated my worth. If I could do for you, if I could fix you, if I could support you, if I could pay your bills, if I was the human ATM, then I would finally be worthy of X, Y, and Z. It doesn't work that way, right? I mean, self-worth is something that we are born with. And so for me, I came up against this unworthiness wound, and I was quite offended when I was called out. My coach said, "You need to deal with this shit." And I said, "Wow, what are you talking about? I'm just an overgiver. I'm a people pleaser." But people pleasers start out as parent pleasers. So because I didn't get that validation, I was always searching outside of myself for it. So I decided 4 years ago to marinate at rock bottom, and not easy button out, because we're conditioned to, to numb, to run, to seek the next, fix in life. Pop a pill, use drugs, get into another relationship. And I just said, you know what? I am the common denominator in all of this. I need to go within, and I need to heal from the inside out, because nothing outside of me is going to make me more of X, Y, and Z. So that's how I originally kind of created these. When I got involved in the world, I have a background in psychology, but it's interesting that we don't study the brain, right? Like ophthalmologists study the eye, an osteopath will study the bones, but we don't study the brain. We don't study the subject. We don't study subconscious mind and what that is. And so when I dove into the personal development world, the Tony Robbins world, and really understanding that our thoughts create our reality, that, what we think about, we bring about, and then really getting into sort of the neuroscience and the epigenetics, that's where I was like, oh my God, our brain learns through repetition, daily repetition, right? So I created these wands for a reminder for myself that, you know what, I am worthy and I am enough inherently. Amanda actually means worthy of love. And it took me to 44 years to claim that title. And so with the power of epigenetics and the power of repetition, and subconscious mind needs to see it to believe it, these are how these were created. So originally as a prototype for myself to rewire my brain. And then it just became this passion project, because I was so committed not letting other women suffer, because suffering is optional, right? Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. And we suffer when we choose to believe the thoughts we think. Just because we think a thought doesn't make it true. And so that's the rabbit hole I went down. And this is the beautiful legacy that I've now created as a result of my pain really turning it into power. And I think that when you're courageous enough to share your story and your truth, you become an expander for other people, because they think, wow, if you've been through that and you can transcend that, then it's possible for me too, right? To have the testimony, you need the test. To have the message, you need the mess. And so for me, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna go in full steam. I'm gonna find my voice, even if my voice shakes. I'm gonna stand strong, even if my legs shake. And I'm gonna roar for the women that don't have a voice yet. And so that's kind of how, in a nutshell, how it came to be.
Wow. Well, first off, I want to thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, you are empowering and impacting a lot of people right now that may need Amanda in their lives. And I always tell people, you know, when you withhold your story or hold back your story, you're actually doing the world a disservice, because there's people out there that are feeling alone and are looking for somebody that may have gone through something similar, and they want that connection. They want that feeling of warmth or just, you know, compassion, fill in the blank, right? And so the fact that you came, you know, you're so open and sharing this, and you've built a brand around it to go out there and intentionally help other women around the globe. It says a lot about you. It says a lot about your resilience and your character, and I want to commend you on that. And it's such a beautiful story, despite how dark it could be, right? It has made you the woman you are today. And, you know, some of you guys have watched and listened to me for an extended period of time. And I talk openly about when I was sexually abused as a 9-year-old boy from a teenager who was a son of my mom's friend, and how that created all of this insecurity in my life growing up and even into my older years. And it wasn't until like I really had my son, my wife and I had our son, that it started to show back up for me, because I became so protective of him. Right. Yeah. So, you know, there's a reason why, Amanda, you and I are chatting today, and we're having this discussion about this. And, you know, I could tell the both of us want to help this world in many different ways. And so when I hear some things in your language, and it brings up a book, The Untethered Soul, when you say you are not your thoughts. And I just literally found that book out not too long ago. Can you share with the audience what that means to you, sort of on a deeper level? Because that was a big eye opener for me when that phrase came into my life.
Yeah. For me too, it was a door opener where, you know, we grow up and we inherit more than our eye color and hair color from our parents. We inherit all their beliefs, right? So their political beliefs, their spiritual beliefs, we inherit all these beliefs, and we're not even aware of we're not aware of it. And 95% of our thoughts are repeated thoughts from the day before, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. And so we've been just conditioned, you roll with it, you know, sleep in the bed you're made, play the hand you're dealt, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when I understood that you are not your thoughts, you are merely the thinker of your thoughts, that put the power back in my tank, where I thought, wow, isn't that fascinating? So that means I can choose another thought. I can choose a thought that is more empowering, because if you can easily choose a thought that's destructive and negative, well, that's incredible, because that means that you can choose a thought that is empowering. And you can start with, you know, the beauty of neuroplasticity is you can start creating new roads in your brain, right? You can start freeing up the traffic jams, and you can start paving new roads. For me, I am so passionate about that, because we were never taught this stuff growing up. Right? We were never taught, turn the volume down on the negativity, turn the volume down on the mean girl, the gremlin in your head, and turn the volume up on, you know, empowering people like yourself, or podcasts, or fill your brain with good, where you're not in the autopilot, you're not in the reactivity, right? You have responsibility, which means you respond differently. But the simple statement is, we have a choice what to choose to believe. And so that was freedom. So just because we think a thought doesn't make it true. So I always will put a question mark at the end of a sentence that doesn't sit well with me, right? So then it opens up, is that true? Is it true that that person just cut me off and is being reckless? Is that true? No, it's not true. You're right. When you have a question mark, or you ask that stuff, just because you're thinking a thought doesn't make it true. So put a question mark.
Yeah.
And for me, the game changed.
That is such a simple thing to do, right? That is such a simple thing to do that makes such a difference, right, in the outcome. We have a live listener here that says showing Hashem Garashi says showing vulnerability is by a strength. Yeah. Or sharing is important, he says. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. And listen, for the folks that are watching live, if you have a question for Amanda, you could drop it in the comments and we'll showcase it.
Absolutely.
And so would love to get the audience, the live audience involved. So, okay. So now my next question, Amanda, is, well, then what is true? What is true?
Well, what do you want to be true? Right? What do you want to be true? What serves you in the highest and best way? What makes you feel most magnetic, most alive, most energized? Right? Because that's the quantum field, the infinite possibilities that you could just go and choose a thought that's more empowering. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed this whole like section in chemistry or science that we're energetic beings.
I know,
like,
me too.
what? Right? So when I got that too, it's like you're either in low vibration or high vibration, right? Which is we are either choosing to live in love or fear. You know, conversations with God, they said there's only really two prominent emotions. We either are living in love or we're living in fear. One's high vibe, one's low vibe. So when I got that, I asked myself always, how is this thought serving me? Is this thought serving me in a way that's going to give me the desired outcome that I'm after? And if it doesn't, swipe, right or left. I'm not on the dating apps, but swipe, whatever it is that you're swiping to get rid of them. It's just like swipe. Yeah, because it's just that easy. That's the training, right? We talked about this morning in our clubhouse. It was like the mental fitness, the mental fortitude. It's really about training your mind to say, that is not serving me at the highest and best level. Swipe.
Yeah, it's important, and so many of us, when we get into those funks, because I get into them. I'm not the best father, the best husband, the best son. I'm not. That's why it's in my affirmations that I say I am the best, because that triggers things in my head throughout the day that makes me think, okay, if this action is not going to align with my affirmation today, right? So that's intentionally done, but
yep,
it's not always the case. Right. Today, my wife and I had a very colorful conversation this morning about my actions lately. And you know what? Instead of me barking back at her, I thanked her for the conversation, because
beautiful.
I look at it like this. The universe is telling me you have areas of improvement that you need to pay attention to. One of them being compassion. I am not the most compassionate person. You could ask anybody that has known me for a very long time. You may think I am because of the amount of content I put out and this and that and the amount I give. Yeah. That's all good stuff. But when it comes down to my personal life, I've always struggled with compassion. Always. Didn't really have a lot of it growing up, not pointing fingers, but it's more of a learned experience for me versus my wife, who I think grew up with a lot of that. So it's so natural to her. And I told her today, I said, listen, I admire that it comes so easy to you. And you are like sort of a shining star for me to make me realize like, wow, that's what compassion really looks like. She's not just she's a practitioner of it, right? She just doesn't go around saying it. Right. And that is that. So this conversation was really helpful today, because it's painful. It's really painful for me because I want to be compassionate. Right. But for whatever it is, it's a block.
Yeah, because it's that small little boy inside of you, right? That feels the need to have to protect and defend, right? It's that, and I love relationships. I mean, people say relationships are just a big petri dish, right? And the other person is just a giant mirror showing you all the ways in which you are still not free. Thank you. Thank you. Instead of getting triggered, it's just like, wow, thank you for the opportunity to grow and be better today. Because here's the truth. We all chose to come here in this interesting time that we're all in the middle of. Our souls were like, wow, we need to grow. Like, we need to really grow. So we're going to come and we're going to experience this pandemic. We're going to be locked down and we're going to face, ourselves and our wounds and our relationships, and we're going to be in close quarters, and we're going to have nowhere to run. We can't go to the bar. We can't go to the gym. We can't travel. So we're really going to have to just get intimate with ourselves.
Mhm.
And people, it's scary. Intimacy is into me, you see, right?
Mm.
So it's just when you look at it like, okay, who do I want to be in my story? And for me, that was the game changer, deciding who I wanted to become and be in the story, because we have voice. We are not our past. And our biology doesn't dictate, our destiny.
Mm.
Right. And this is epigenetics is showing this too, that your DNA, just because you might have a cancer gene, it's the internal landscape that's going to turn that on. So just because you have your father was an alcoholic or et cetera, it doesn't mean that you will become.
Right.
And this is stuff that I'm passionate about teaching people. Is it's always a choice, and it starts with your energy, and it starts with taking accountability to your internal landscape.
Mm.
Because we come into the world with one thing and we leave the world with one thing, and that's our body. It's our temple. And when we have choice, we can respond differently. We can take responsibility, and responsibility means to respond differently.
Yes.
Right.
And you're a perfect example of this, because you instead of taking your pain and making it one thing, you turned it into your purpose. And now that has brought you to the next level, next chapter of your life. And it is very, very important to understand that we all have choices, whether we are the brokest on the planet or the most rich on the planet and everything in between. Yep. No matter what's going on in your life, that's the one thing that we do have is a choice. Now, Hashem had asked, I feel that the more control you have over your emotions, the more liberated you feel. Therefore, you also control your actions. What do you think? How could one achieve such emotional balance? That's a great question. I'll leave that up there so you can read that through a little bit.
Yeah, the more you have control. Well, I think control is an illusion, first of all. I don't really think the only thing that we're really in control of is the thoughts we choose to think and whether the meaning that we assign to it. That's it, right? We can't control what other people are going to say. We can't control what other people are going to do. All we can control is how we show up to it and the meaning that we give something. So I think we try to control the outside environment when we don't trust. Right? When we lack trust. So if you had self-trust and you had a high degree of self-love, right? We weren't taught that. We weren't taught to love ourselves first. After me, you come first. Right in that little spot right next to me, that's when you come first. Because when I'm full and I have an abundance to give, I will never be in lack. I won't project and react because you're taking something that I don't have, because I embody whatever it is. So I think how to have the balance is really, it's about doing what's best for you unapologetically. And when you're your best self, everybody else wins.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the truth. It is the truth for sure. So
because when you're happy, you don't try to be more happy, right? Like,
no,
it's just like you're happy. So what would the best version of you do, and how would the best version of you show up in all ways?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't personalize. You're not the body. It's not the eye. You're not the eye. It's to disidentify. Right. People are always trying to kill the ego. The ego's bad. Kill the ego. But the ego's only job, number one, is to keep you safe. And number two, it's to validate the narrative that you tell it. So if you tell it all kinds of garbage, it just pops up to go, hey, because the ego never likes to be wrong.
That's
so what if you didn't need to control anything or anyone outside of yourself, and you just had to control your thoughts and what you think and the meaning that you give it? I think you would find the proper balance that you're striving for.
It's a great answer. It really is. It's a great answer. You answered that way better than I could. I'm just keeping it real. I want to tie this episode up in a beautiful bow. And I have one last question for you that I think we'll tie this up nicely. What do you wish you had known when you first started this journey called life?
I wish I would have known that I was enough and that I was worthy just because I existed. And we're born knowing we're worthy. At 4 a.m., we're screaming our little bald heads off that we want to be fed, and we have diapers full of, pee and poo, and we're just like smiling for the camera. We're not all mirrored about what other people say and think. And somewhere along the line, that got conditioned out of us. So I wish I could have held on to that essence to know that nothing outside of me would validate me, that I validate myself. That would have changed the game for me. And that's why I'm so passionate about really putting the power back in the people to understand that you are born enough. And it's like an Easter egg hunt. It's let's go back to where you stop believing that, and let's heal any part of you that disagrees with that statement.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's beautiful. I just want everybody to take a second and just let that one sink in a little bit, because, man, I couldn't agree more. And Amanda, I think that would be the answer that I would give too, because there were so many times in my life where I didn't think I was enough, and I would do things. I always say I used to do the right things for the wrong reasons, and it always came back to bite me in the ass. And now little things are a little different now. I don't want to live my next 40 years the way I lived my first 40, and I'm working diligently on that. And we're all a work in progress. And that's something that we need to understand. We're all a work in progress.
Yeah. And listen, there's no competition because everybody can win. Like, it's not a piece of the pie, right? Where it's like, if I win, then I'm going to get a smaller slice. And the only people that we need to compete against is who we were yesterday. That's it. Like, that takes all the stress off.
Yeah, totally.
Totally.
Well, I want all of our audience to head over to worthyones.com and check out what Amanda's got going on. And you said 10% of your proceeds go to what again? Which I think is very, very awesome.
Yeah, to Operation Underground Railroad, which they are, their sole mission is to eradicate human trafficking in women and children. And, these little worthy souls are worthy of a better life that, they didn't choose to be bought into or sold into. And so we're quite passionate about that. And, even if the message doesn't resonate with, a man think, oh, I'm worthy, but maybe you have a woman, a daughter, a niece, a friend, somebody that if you can remind them, it doesn't need to be through my products. It could just be a hand on the shoulder and say, God, have I told you lately just how worthy and enough you are to chase? Like, that's a game changer for people. Right? So
good. Give them the website one more time.
worthyones.com.
And go check out Amanda's video on the page. It is very touching. It's short, sweet, straight to the point, gives you the purpose of the brand. But we got into it deep today. And Amanda, we're going to have you back on the show. Maybe you could do some live stream stuff with me. So I do podcasts, and then I also do a live stream show. And I'm always trying to tie in personal development into what it is that I do, because I think a lot of it is those limiting beliefs, thinking, oh, we can't do this because of X, Y, Z. I hear it all the time. Oh, I can't charge more for my service or product because blank, and it's all a lie, right? So I think you would be great. We can get into some more business stuff in the future, and those go a little longer. I tend to go those are a little bit more longer format. So Amanda, this is not the last time
I would love to
are going to be chatting it up. So we got Hashem says real quick before we go. Hashem says, love your energy, Amanda.
Oh, thank you.
And Hashem, we appreciate you for contributing today and asking some great questions and participating. And Amanda, I can't thank you enough. This was so much fun.
I thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to share what I'm up to doing in the world. So
and you are changing the lives of many, and your story is a beautiful one, you know, despite
Yeah.
and one of the things that I was writing the other day, real quick. I was writing the other day, and so this just came out freely, and it said, "You wouldn't be here if you didn't have a purpose."
100%.
And I just wrote that. It was kind of just, and I was like, "Whoa, what the hell did I just write?" And so just remember that, guys. No matter how tough life gets, no matter how frustrating business is going to get, you're here for a purpose. Otherwise, you wouldn't be. So I'll leave you with that, guys. Yeah. So worthywands.com. Go check it out. It's a great gift. It's a great gift for yourself. It's a great gift for a significant other. I mean, real high quality stuff here. I could see it, and you could just tell by the website that Amanda really does care about her product. So guys, have an amazing day, and I will catch you guys on the next episode real soon.